Hey, I'm Nathan Amaro with HatViter. Today we're going to be discussing what auction insights are inside of a Google Ads account and why they're so important for us to be able to look at that dashboard and understand what's going on with our ads. So for this example, it's a dumpster rental company, meaning a customer calls and says, hey, I like to rent a dumpster because I have a home clean out. This dumpster rental company has a okay budget. It's kind of small. They can do better. But as a small business, their ad spend, their monthly ad spend has been increasing incrementally as they grow as a company. So very quickly, if we want to know what auction insights are, we first need to know that auction insights apply to a campaign level, an ad group level, and a keyword level. This helps us as advertisers get very granular into the data to see exactly how we're stacked up in the marketplace against our competition. In this example, we're going to be doing it specifically just for a campaign, so you get the overall idea of what exactly an auction insight does. So if we look at the dashboard, we can see we have 7 different columns. Each of these columns, Google provides a description that I'll show to you and read to you, and then I will rephrase it in my own words to help make sense of it, because often these descriptions get very confusing. So if we look at the first display URL domain, and keep in mind, you means you. So in this case, the dumpster rental company that we're managing these ads for, that is you. The rest of these are blocked out, so you can't see them for the privacy of the account. So if we look at the first column, we see display URL domain. I hover my mouse over it, and Google pops up a description. The description says the visible URL included in the participant's ad in the auction. This column identifies the participant. So that's kind of confusing, and basically, if you're especially if you're new to Google Ads. So the way I would rephrase it is, what does this mean? This means these are the companies your ad competes against in Google's auction. So an auction, just think of it, like the old school, they flag up and they're selling a car or something, and someone says 10,000, and then 12,000, 15,000. It's the same exact process in a digital world that you can't see, that Google pretty much manages. So you guys are bidding on these keywords to make sure that your ads are showing in the top position, okay? So this report shows exactly who your ads are going up against and how you stack up against them. It's not random. These are the real businesses trying to take the same clicks you're fighting for, okay? So now that we understand this column, we're going to go to the next column. The next column says impression share. Google describes it as the impression share is the number of impressions you receive divided by the estimated numbers of impressions you were eligible to receive. Eligibility is based on your current ad's targeting settings, approval statuses, bids, and quality scores. This number is updated once a day. That was confusing. So the way I'm going to describe it is, what does this mean? So this means how often your ad shows versus how often you could have shown, okay? I'm going to say that again. How often your ad shows in a day versus how often it could have shown, okay? So having 100%, you're hardly ever really going to see that. So these are some deep insights. So having a high impression share means your ads are showing often, and having a low impression share means your budget's either too small, you have low bids, your quality score is not good, and more importantly, which is usually the biggest problem, is the structure of your account is terrible, okay? If the structure of your account is terrible, your ads are not going to do good. Google doesn't really care about you. They're just going to take your money. So it's very important to make sure the structure is good, okay? So I'm back on this impression share. The impression share tells me how often my ads show compared to how often they could have showed. Even with a limited budget, with this dumpster rental space, we're actually showing more than anyone else, which means our setup is extremely efficient. So here we are at 34%, the second company in place, in second place is 17%, 16%, 15%, 13%, and then 10%. Google will never show anything less than 10%, okay? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 companies that are less than 10%. And this is a date range from March 1st to November 13th. So March 1st to November 13th, we've been having the most impressions shared, okay? And then you're like, what's an impression? An impression is, let's say I take my phone out, I type in dumpster rental near me, the ads show, I see it, but I don't click it, okay? But I see it. And imagine that across all of the places that we're targeting and the amount of population that people are seeing your ads and not clicking it. So Google's basically saying 34% of the time, people are seeing your ads in comparison to the person that's in second place, which is 17%. Okay? So the next column here is overlap rate. Here we are. We're at the very bottom. Doesn't give us a percentage because we can't see. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they give us a percentage to tell us, hey, are we overlapping with our own selves? Okay? So Google went ahead and gave a percentage to all of the competitors in that space. So if I hover my mouse over, the description pops up and Google says the overlap rate is how often another advertiser's ad received an impression in the same auction that your ad also received an impression. So what does this mean? This means how often your ad shows at the same time as another competitor. This helps identify who is actively competing for your keywords. The overlap rate shows which companies we're directly up against in the same searches. These are the companies that appear at the same time as we do, the ones in the real battle with us. So to summarize all of that, usually what it means is that these competitors are targeting basically the same keywords as us. Okay, so it's very important when we see that and we see ourselves on Google that we go to their website and we evaluate what exactly they're doing. What are their offers? What are their services? And anything else that they're providing, because we want to make sure that we're being very tailored to the customer, telling them exactly what we do, exactly what our offers are, so we can be more influential for them to call, and then we can book a call with them, an appointment with them, okay? So the next column here is position above rate. Again, doesn't make sense for Google to give us a percentage because we want to know who's above us. It doesn't make sense for our ad to be above our ad and then Google give us a percentage. It's irrelevant data, okay? So in this, Google describes it as the position rate is how often another advertiser's ad in the same auction shows in a higher position than your own when both of your ads were shown at the same time. So what does this mean in Nathan's terms? This means when both ads show, how often did the competitor appear above you? Having a high number, a high number like this guy here, 78%, having a high number doesn't always mean it's good. It often means higher bids and a lot of the times wasted ad spend when you don't know what you're doing. So the position above rate shows how often a competitor appears above us, but higher doesn't always mean better. It usually means they're spending more. We're focused on staying profitable, not winning the most expensive spot. So with this dumpster company, like I said, they have an okay ad spend. So us as advertisers, we're not really concerned with bidding at the very top, okay? Because remember, in this impression share, we're already dominating the space. We're already getting a good volume of calls coming in so that the company can make the revenue, make the cash flow, and then internally as a small business, they have to get their things in alignment. Maybe they need to pay things off with that additional cash flow. Maybe they buy another dumpster. Maybe they hire an office manager to answer the calls, things like that. Once they get those things in, then it's very encouraging for them to increase their ad spend so we can dominate a little bit more better. So keep that in mind. It's not always the best thing to be in the top position. Okay? So right here, it says position above rate, like I just told you. And then you have, let me stick to this one, position above rate. So another important thing is it means, like I just told you, that the competitor is directly above you. That doesn't mean you're on the first page. You can be on the 7th page of Google, which nobody ever usually goes to, and they're above you. You can go to the 3rd page of Google and they're above you. It's just letting you know, hey, this company here, this competitor in your area that you're targeting, 78% of the time they're above you. Okay? So helps you get that analysis for you to do your due diligence and figure out who exactly are, study them, and get it all dialed in. So if we go to the next column here, this is top of page rate, and Google describes it as the top placement rate is how often your ad or the ad of another advertiser, depending on which row you're reviewing, was shown among top ads in search results. So what does this mean to me? This means how often your ad appeared anywhere at the top of Google. Most conversions come from the top section, not necessarily the number 1 spot. The top of page rate tells us how often we show up in the top part of Google, where most people actually click. And even without a big budget, we're showing up very high consistently. So we're at 74%, okay? This is for a small budget, that's pretty good with dominant impression share here. But then we got 2 above us, okay? So, you know, when you take your phone out, or you go on the computer or whichever device and you go on Google and you type in dumpster rental near me, and then you have the first 3 sections. Now Google usually shows Google Guarantee, Google LSA, and then it shows our sponsored ads. In that section, it'll show anywhere from 1, 2, or 3 ads there, okay? Doesn't mean you're the very top position. You can be number 3, okay? And sometimes the people in the marketplace who are searching for your services, they don't click the first one. They might click the 3rd one, and you still get those calls. And because we have 74% with a decent budget, a small budget, I would say, because our quality scores are good, because of the structure of our account is good, because our website's good, over time, Google's measuring all of that stuff in their algorithm. And if it's good and good standing consistently, it's going to start increasing your ad positioning while also decreasing your cost per click. So that's the position we're in since March 1st to November 13th. So yeah, very good. The next column here is absolute top of page rate. So what does Google say? Absolute top of page rate is the absolute top rate is the percent of your impressions that are shown at the very first ad among the top ads. Use this metric to see whether changes in performance are due to changes in your ad's location. This metric does not include data from search partners. What does this mean? This means how often your ad was the very first one on the page. It's going to give you deep insights to the most expensive position, rarely the best ROI, often driven by ego bidding. And I'll get into that very shortly, okay? So the absolute top of page rate tells us how often we're the number 1 result, but we don't chase that spot unless it makes financial sense. We're consistently showing up without overspending. So in this column, the impression share, it's letting us know, hey, we're showing up all the time, okay, for the keywords that we're targeting. But in this column that we just talked about, the absolute top of page rate, we're right here in the middle. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people above us bidding for the top page rate. And previously, I just mentioned a lot of times this is driven by ego bidding, okay? So absolute top of the page rate, remember in this column, top of page rate, I explained to you, it's the top position at Google, and there's like 1, 2, 3, and maybe you're 3. The absolute top of page rate is telling you you're consistently number 1. So this guy here, is 56% of the time he's number one. Okay. And when it comes to ego bidding and it comes to operating a business, this is very important because we've had clients like this before. I've seen this plenty of times where they're demanding that they want to put their ad at the top. So they take their phone out, the owner, and they're typing into Google their ads to see where their ads are. And they're doing this multiple times a day. And if you click your ad, that's kind of stupid because now you're just charging your own self for that click. And who knows how much Google at that specific time charged you when clicking your ad. But more importantly, if you constantly keep looking up your ad and trying to see if you're there, it's giving those impressions to Google, okay? But then Google's also going to understand because you're not clicking it, you just keep every day, multiple times a day, checking, is my ad showing? Google's going to eventually stop showing that ad to you because it thinks it's irrelevant to you. So then you're like, hey man, my ad's never showing. Well, it's like, yeah, because you keep searching your own ad over and over and over. So you see how that makes sense? And when it comes to ego bidding, let's just say for an example, I'm just throwing a random number out there, that we're bidding for the top page right here, 56%. We're bidding for the top position, $25. We're telling Google, hey, for the cost I'm willing to pay per conversion, per lead is $25 for this position, okay? So now I just described to you the business owner who's very concerned and demanding to be at the top position of it. But then you have all of these other competitors in the marketplace that have the same mentality, that don't really understand. And they're saying, I demand to be on the top. So then this guy here says, well, we're going to pay $28. And then now you have a third guy. And this third guy is like, well, let's do 30. And you see how that makes sense? How it just keeps leading up and up and up. And now when you were paying $25 cost per lead and you do the finances within your company, you're like, hey man, that's pretty good. We're being pretty profitable as a company for the leads that we're acquiring right now for the budget that we have for the month. So now, because you get into an ego bidding war with others in the marketplace, now you're paying $60 for a lead. And it keeps climbing and climbing, and now it's not really profitable, okay? So that's a big problem of how bidding keywords get inflated in the marketplace. But one important thing that you do need to keep in mind on why this still kind of works for companies and why it doesn't, but also why inflation takes place, is that you have two different companies when it comes to sales. Right now we're talking about marketing, but now I'm talking about sales, okay? Two different companies. You have company A and you have company B. Company A has a very good sales process, okay? And company B, they're not really focused on selling very big jobs, okay? So let's look at it as a triangle. So here's the tip, and it comes down, company A, company B. At the very tip, it's the same service. So both company A and company B are looking at the same service, the same customer, the same everything. This company says, hey, I'm going to quote you for, I don't know, let's say $10,000. And they close the deal. Even though they paid an inflated amount for the top position, they still closed the deal and made a massive profit margin because they closed it at $10,000, okay? So now there's company B. Remember, it's the same customer, the same service, everything the same. This guy says, oh, I can do the job. Here's a quote for $1,100. Okay, you see the difference? This guy closed the deal for $10,000. This guy closed a deal for $1,100. That's sales, okay? My job is just marketing, making sure that the customers are there. But I'm telling you right now, though, there are companies out there that exist that have two different sales processes. So then company A is willing to drive that cost up for the top position rate right here, 56%, because they know they got their sales dialed in. And even if they pay $200 for the conversion or $300, $400, they know they're going to make a massive return because they have a closer in their sales team who's going to make sure that takes place, versus a company who's not really about closing that big, whatever reasons they are. But that helps you get another understanding of how the marketplace takes place. And when it comes to us managing your ad spend, why it's important for us to be smart about it and say, hey, you know what? We're getting a good amount of impression share. Your ads are getting good visibility. You're getting a good amount of conversions coming in. But you're not at the very top page rate. And then that's a discussion we have. Do you want to get to the top page rate? And sometimes they'll say, yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is what it comes with. We're going to have to bid a little more aggressively. It's going to be more costly. And sometimes they say, yeah, and it goes well. They figure it out as things get more pricey within the ad account. But sometimes they're like, oh, no, it's not worth it, because they're paying attention to their finances. They're paying attention to their books. If you're not paying attention, you're going to screw yourself over, and your company is going to start sinking little by little by little. And then you're going to think marketing doesn't work. Marketing doesn't work. When in reality, your finances, your planning, your sales doesn't work. Marketing's working. It's your intelligence when it comes to managing the company doesn't work. So you need to work on that. So the last column we have here is outranking share. And Google says outranking share is how often your ad ranked higher in the auction than other advertisers' ads, or if your ad showed when theirs did not. Okay? So my description of it is how often you ranked higher than a specific competitor or showed when they didn't. It's the real win rate in the auction. Okay, this column's really good. It's the real win rate. And finally, outranking share. I love this metric. It tells me how often we beat a competitor or showed when they didn't. Even with a tight budget, we're outperforming big name brands a good chunk of the time. Okay, so I sorted it. Here we are. We're at the very bottom. Again, doesn't make sense for Google to give us a percentage on that. And then up here, it's 33%, 32%, 32%, 31, 31, 31, 31, 30, 27%. Okay, so it's telling us 33% of the time we're outranking them, which if you look at the impression share here, they're at 10%. Of course we are. This guy is at 13%, but out here the outranking is 32%. Okay? So this whole view that I just showed you in the auction insights shows how efficient the campaign really is. We're not the biggest spender in this space, but we're showing more often. We're staying profitable, and we're beating the competitors who are overspending in this position. So this is, again, just the campaign level. You can look at it for the ad group level, and you can look at it at the keyword level. This is going to help you understand what's going on. So pay attention to this. Don't neglect it. Don't be ignorant towards it. Understand what's going on as an advertiser so you're able to make intelligent, smart decisions in the internet marketing space. So if you need any assistance, you have any questions, go ahead and leave me a comment. I'll reply to them. If you want to reach out, book a meeting with me, and then I'll go ahead and speak to you and do my best to help you answer the questions that you're facing. Thank you so much. Have a good day.